Wonderful, wonderful. We are live. We are live. Brilliant, brilliant. And Vina was here a second ago. She said, "Oh, I'll be back. I'll be back. I'll be back in 5 minutes." So we should see Vina any second now. We should see Vina any second now. Brilliant, 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 brilliant. Just, what's on my mind is I have to make a 30-second commercial, or as I call them, ads, a radio ad, essentially, a voice ad for the podcasts. And this is an interesting challenge, because the podcasts are, I'm sharing my world, right? What I do, what I'm about, and yes, in one sense, that is about my programs, Way of Impeccability, the Moreness project, uh, you know, life coaching, assisting others. But that's not all that I do, obviously, right? I also write books, yes, and I share things, but that's also not what I do only. Yes, uh, I mean, yes, it is, but there's more to it. And what I mean by there's more to it, where's the moreness in that? And the moreness is in this, that uh, I've created a world, uh, and what I mean by a world is an environment. Yes, a paradigm. That's what makes it different. Many people have worlds, like you've got in our world, there are many mini worlds, like the military, for instance, right? And this has always fascinated me, and that when you go to a military base, you in this whole other world. I mean, they have their own police force, right? And they've got a library there, chapels, whatever, right? It's a contained world, and you will find this with, like, the Roman Catholic Church as well, right? Go to a church, they've got their own organization, all connected stuff. I would assume they've got their own, connections, like correspondence, mail, whatever, right? You go to harbors. Harbors are these little worlds too. It's really fascinating to me how we have worlds within worlds. Sports stadiums, good example, right? Or, like professional sports teams, their own worlds unto themselves as well, right? I mean, this a massive organization that's it. Yeah, again, publishers, newspapers, all sorts of things are worlds within themselves, right? Some more so than others, obviously, like the military and the Roman Catholic Church, and well, politics, like your governing houses, your senates, parliaments, whatever, right? Those are all worlds within worlds, and many of them have their own cultures, right? That this culture, for instance, that we have in sports, right? You have the sports culture, military culture, maybe some overlap somewhere, but then you got, like, the religious culture, the political culture. And then of course your corporate cultures, right? And within corporate cultures, especially in big multinationals, they can vary quite considerably. Yes. For instance, you take your modern corporations like Facebook and Google. Uh, they have fairly progressive cultures. Well, especially Google. I think Facebook not so much, right? They get a bit criticized for their culture, but Google, well, and eBay, they're wonderful places to work. People really love working there. Yes, and WordPress and other big places like this. Yeah, these are very, very progressive, and they have. Uh, Preschool on camp right there. You bring your kid in this preschool, take care, all this kind of stuff, right? Cafeterias that are very extensive, very different menus, catering for everybody from vegan to whatever. Right? Some of these corporations are truly, really, really wonderful places to work at, as they've changed, But, again, I would assume a place like Monsanto doesn't have a particularly good corporate culture. It's all about greed, and you do whatever, and it's that hierarchical, just you're making money at any cost, that type, win at all costs type of a culture. Another world within worlds that I forgot to mention is that's one of these that always intrigue me are universities, colleges, right? Academia, uh, very different world, right? Different culture in there, very, very different culture. We sort of would think that these cultures are the same as what we live, but no. And as probably, many who might listen to this will say, well, yeah, I know this from my own life. When I go to work, it's a different set of rules to what's at home and what's in school, for instance, too. Right? I go to church, it's all different, right? Uh, you would think it's all the same, but no, it's not. So worlds within worlds, this is a very prominent thing. Now, I'm getting back to where I'm at and what I'm talking about. What is my world that I create? Like I said, on the podcasts, what I'm going to be doing is talking about what I do and what I'm about, which is not the same thing. Norma, if you, yeah, I haven't, I'm talking and I haven't found the, the, uh, the live in group yet, so I can mark it as featured and all that. So I can't see if there's any comments yet, in case you, yeah. Because you asked me, Norma, about what the podcasts are, so I'm sharing this now. But I'm talking about making the ad for this. So I'm getting back there, right? Digressing, but to get back to this. So on the podcasts, I am going to be talking and sharing about what I do and what I'm about. And you could say soul's world. Now, the reason I say this, because for some people, what they do and what they're about is very focused, is very specific, right? Yeah, like in this podcast network, they don't just interview anybody, right? I mean, they focus on life coaches, therapists, counselors, but also related to that, people who do like Reiki or yoga or any of these associated things, and like interior designers, they had them in there too, right? So they're a bit broader than just the narrow field of life coaching or self improvement, right? It's kind of the whole broadness of it. And including things like I thought it was very kind of cool that they had interior designers and such like in there as well. So very cool. But again, you could go on there and say, fine, I do Reiki. Okay, you talk about doing Reiki, but that's not doesn't mean that you have a world. You're doing something very specific. You may do it in a different way or whatever, but nonetheless, right? Um, Typically, when people have something like that, it's an activity, it's a focus, it's a skill, right? And it's very specific, but it doesn't come with an associated world. But me, I come with an associated world, right? Nobelia-Living is what I call it, right? And that's why my website is nobelia.com. So nobelia.org, not .com. That's what I meant to say. That's why it's not .com, why it's .org, because it's a sharing of this world. It's not a commercial thing, right? And what is Nobelia-Living? Yes, it's based on Nobelia, this literal world, at least literal in the story, right? It is a planet, it's a world on which the new nobility live. That's why it's called Nobelia. Yeah? And why is this so special? Why? Because this is a culture that is very, very different to the cultures that we find on our world here. I don't know of any such culture, right? Either in fiction or in reality or in history. I don't know of it, right? This is something that's very, very different. It is a culture that revolves around the concept and the application of actual nobleness. And I say nobleness, not nobility, because the word nobility is very corrupted, right? Or being noble, even nobleness, right? Of course, which means applying nobility, but in the real sense of nobility, nothing to do with bloodlines and titles and heredity and all that nonsense, right? And the historical nobleness and nobility is quite the opposite of what it actually is. It was a very, very ingenious, but in a negative ingenious, a very dastardly manipulation of the concept to call the nobility nobility. They are ignobility, IG. You can go look up the word. It is the um, uh, the opposite of essentially of what nobility stands for. But because we have such power with associations, with terms. Anytime you associate it, like I was saying the other day, writers and entertainers, they're manipulating you, but you want them to. But when you call it manipulation, it's a bit sour. But when you say, "Oh, they entertaining me," now it's okay. They're affecting you. They're influencing you. All right, whatever. They affecting you. Right? Wow, this is cool. This is okay. But manipulation, no, it's not okay. Even though I want them to, manipulate my emotions so that I can feel good. So what I pay for the entertainment for, right? To be manipulated, essentially. Right? I mean, they draw out your emotions. Are you here, Bina?
Exactly.
Oh, oh, good. Bina,
Yes.
I'm sort of
Yes, I'm
hearing
here.
you. Oh, okay, okay. I didn't. I just heard movement. I didn't hear a sound.
No, I was
Go ahead.
no, I was here, but okay, but like 4 minutes. 4 minutes. So apologies for that because I just time.
No
I
problem.
was able
No
to do
problem.
that, but I just lost the track of time.
No, no problems. Never
So
a
that's why
problem.
I was
Never a
late and I
problem.
missed that opportunity to say
Yeah, yeah.
hello. Hello and welcome, of course. So hello Sil, hello Moreness, hello Kareem, hello Norma. Hopefully you are there.
Yes,
I
Norma's
will
here,
see the
and
pictures
Amron
that
is
okay,
here too today. We
I
have
will.
Norma and Amron, both.
Oh wow. Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
okay. So welcome Emron also. I know what it is. Yes, that is really good.
yeah,
What you are saying, manipulation. It's a big, huge deal, all caps huge deal,
yeah, yeah,
because from the very early age, we allow human minds to be willingly manipulated voluntarily. We do that to be manipulated, to get manipulated, because by watching the cartoons, all the movies, or anything on, because we go by this understanding that I know true, but still I want to believe
right.
it is true. It is happening.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a very thing because the illusion, the hallucination we create in our own mind that oh yes, this person
yeah,
just throw the brick on someone's head, like okay, but towards someone they get hit back, that their nose just popped out, and then okay, it happened. But we
yeah.
laugh on that because we know that it's not true. This is how we manipulate. That though it
Exactly,
is true, it is happening, but it is not true. And this is
exactly.
how we lose our awareness.
Yeah,
This is how we lose our consciousness. So yes, it
yes,
seemed like very innocent, childish thing, and but
yeah,
what we are doing with the most precious thing, human mind and their awareness and their
yeah,
consciousness, is beyond just phone
exactly,
but good. It is more
exactly.
than way more than that.
Bina,
It's a
I have
big, huge,
Bina,
huge damage. A lot. Yes.
yeah, sorry, I just want to pause
Yes.
you there a little bit because I don't want to get into this whole association to words and concepts because I just was I mentioned it temporarily as a part of what my overall discussion was, which was about making the ad for the podcasts, right? That's what I was busy talking about when I
Yes.
started, and you weren't here for that, right? And so I'm not sure how that came in now because I lost my thread a bit, but I'll go back. I was talking about worlds, right? So the podcasts, right? Normally you ask me, what are the podcasts? The podcasts are essentially radio shows. Podcasts are the internet modern version of what radio used to be, right? Now it's more complex and more variety than radio because well, radio you had limited ability to broadcast. Podcasts you've got essentially unlimited ways to broadcast. But these are so if we talk about in radio, I'm going to be making radio shows, a series of 10 of them, and what it's about is about me and what I am about. Now, and that's what I started to say. What I'm about is yes, okay, I do life coaching, I run the programs, which are, they don't really fall into the category of typical life coaching because in typical life coaching, the life coach essentially tells you what to do. Yes. And, they like kind of train you in a sense, but not really. They're just giving advice for the most part. Now, I try not to give advice. Yes. The way I'm going about it is I provide you tools which you use and apply, and we talk about those, we discuss those, but you end up creating what you want to be, not me. I don't tell you how you should be. You figure that out using the tools that I provide. But anyway, so even my life coaching is different. But I don't just do life coaching. I also write, and I write a lot of things. But my writing, there's more to it as well. I'm not just writing stories or nonfiction books that explain things and provide understanding. I have that, yes, but there's a moreness to it. And what is that moreness? That moreness is the world that I create, and this Nobelia world, right? I call it Nobelia-Living because it comes from the world of Nobelia in my story. And Nobelia is this world that revolves around the concept of nobleness, right? The application of it. But it's not only that, right? This is just a focus point to give them this, because in order to be noble you have to have the ability to do more. You have to be have that awareness of what bonus goodness is, what extra goodness is. And thus this the new nobility as a culture is what they call themselves, right? Revolving around actually being noble, not hereditary, not any of that. It's also about taking self-improvement to its maximum, right? So they're into learning and growing and practice and developing competence and developing skills and developing abilities, right? And these are in all the entire range, but typically they're more focused towards interactive abilities, like patience, right? Yes, whatever you do, patience. This is a profound skill. But communication skills, you need patience for that too. But see, skills of that nature, they're very adept at. Capital H, hearing, really hearing the more of things, and living in attunement. This is an incredible skill. Now, this you can do completely on your own, right? But community, very important. So the world of Nobelia, you could think of it as Hogwarts, right? Nobelia, Hogwarts, very much the same. Yes, because Hogwarts is an institution, it's a culture, it's a world, right? It has all of its own doings and things in there, right? And you go into it's like in a different reality, right? Well, in Hogwarts, in the world of Hogwarts, magic happens, right? And in that world, there are wizards and witches and whatnot, right? So all sorts of wonderful things. But again, Nobelia is also this world. But what's the difference? We like Hogwarts. Everybody knows Hogwarts, right? Harry Potter, all this. We keen. I'd love to go to Hogwarts, right? But you can't. Nobelia is different. Yes, it may be, in its origin, it's a planet in a different galaxy, and we can't go there. But that doesn't mean we cannot bring Nobelia living here. We can. That's the concept of Nobelia living. It's being applied here on these lives. Yes, and I will hopefully share it to some extent on the podcasts. Talk about it, right? This is very, very important. But why is this difference? Now, Bina and I were talking about this. Now, come back to making the ads. I think this may be our whole live today, Bina. We might not get to actually do capital or reading, but that's okay. Yeah. What is this? Why is this so important? This Nobelia living, and why is it so different? First of all, think of us when I was saying these different worlds, like the military and universities, schools, libraries, churches, right, politics, all different worlds, and corporate, all with their own cultures. What is the culture of Nobelia living? Not on Nobelia, but Nobelia living here in our world. Yes, it's going to be very much the same, except we're just not on that particular planet. But the rest can all be here because it can all be applied. Think of when you are back at school. What is the typical school culture? It's a warfare culture. You say, what? Yeah. You have little groups, little bands, little clans, and you essentially defending you and your little group of friends against everybody else, right? And it's all about hierarchy and putting each other down, and well, you look crap, you look terrible, whatever, right? I mean, it's this constant battle for hierarchy and superiority. That's why all the clickiness, because clickiness gives you that defensivity that well, I'm okay, me and my clique, we good, and you it's terrible, right? I mean, everybody's always in school constantly feeling out, feeling awkward, feeling left out, feeling less than. Nobody's happy and satisfied in school, or very few, right? It's a terrible place. It's a horrible place. Most people suffer. School is about stress and anxiety, yeah, because of this culture. And because you're young and you've got that lots of energy, you tend to take things to the max. Winning. It's all about winning and being superior and being better than and being dominant. I mean, when I was a boy, there was an actual in the boy culture, you'd be ranking the boys, right? Who's the strongest in the class, right? And they'd be, okay, there's number one, you number two. They would be actually said out loud. Yeah, it's just horrible. What a terrible culture. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Now, Nobelia culture says, nope, none of that. No comparison. Yes, no competition in this usual competition sense. Right? I'm not competing with you, and I'm not comparing with you either. Right? So they celebrate difference. Yeah. So fine, you don't have physical strength. So what? We don't care. There's no comparison. It doesn't make you better or worse. Just you are what you are. We celebrate your difference. We celebrate your individuality. It's not comparative. When you remove comparison, your entire culture changes. It becomes a culture of acceptance. Yes. What is a culture of comparison, especially if it's a hierarchy, you ranking who's the prettiest, who's the smartest? Isn't this the school culture? Who's the strongest? Who's the fastest? Always this. And if you're not at the top, right, you're always feeling like crap. And who is in one time the smartest, the cleverest, the fastest, the strongest, the most skilled? No one, right? Because you may have some of those, but you don't have all of those, right? So you're always losing out in some way. Plus, when you are at the top of this hierarchy potentially, right, everybody's trying to get to where you are and be in that spot. So they try and pull you down, find fault with you, and all this. It's miserable. It's what a horrible, horrible system. Really terrible. So no, Nobelia-Living, when we compare it to school culture, is just trying to do the very opposite, right? Where you celebrate everybody, you accept everybody. I don't care how ugly you are, or how stupid you are, how little you know. We all are stupid and ugly and whatever, to some degree. I mean, even if you take actually what people think is beautiful, if you actually go and do surveys, not everybody thinks each supermodel is the essence of beauty. Some find them quite unattractive, right? They just go by generalizations. We get told we should be like this. Now, school culture is a culture of should and must be and supposed to be. Yeah, no. Nobelia-Living is a culture where there is no should. You decide. It's about appropriateness, sensibility, sobriety. It's about joy. It's about enjoying living. And it's about enjoying everybody. It's a culture of collaboration, not comparison and competition. Collaboration, cooperation, as opposed to competition, comparing. Now, so we have these C's. There's four C's, but they're two negative, two positive. Now, most people don't see comparison and competition as negative, right? But when you really think about it, it's very negative. I mean, especially competition. You say, yeah, but doesn't it make you better? No, not necessarily. It makes you relatively better, not absolutely better, right? Because it depends. If I win, it all depends who I competed against. Yes, I saw this when I was a child, right? I won all the sailing trophies at the local yacht club, dinghy sailing, against adults. A whole big mantle full of trophies, right? I was like a sailing prodigy, but I was a little fish in a tiny pond. Yes, on a national level, okay, I was a relatively good sailor too. Yes, but I certainly wasn't dominant the way I was at my local yacht club. I mean, I won everything. I would lap them, and there was no competition, right? And even though I was young, a teenager, from like age 11, 12 to age 16, this took place. Yes, I did win a national championship, but still, that was again in a very small class, very, very few, not many were sailing. It was a new type of a dinghy. Anyway, so again, it's like I realized the hollowness of winning. Yes, that it doesn't really mean all that much. Plus, I was successful in other things, like, I don't know, we played double patience, for instance, was a particular card game. And I used to win always, every time. And eventually, my friends stopped wanting to play with me because I was just wanting it. Because I made the effort to just think about it a little bit and figure it out. It wasn't that I had inherently better skills. I simply took the time to actually figure it out. Likewise with other sorts of games of that nature. Yes, if you take a bit of time, it's not that hard to be a winner. But But now here's the problem, right? So you win. What am I doing? I'm making my friends lose. If you have any kind of sensitivity and caring in you, I don't want to make my friends feel bad. And this American thing, for instance, where you win and you go, yeah, no, 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 and you like have this little performance dance. It's abhorrent. It's absolutely terrible to my way of thinking. I don't know where people think this is a fun way to do things. I mean, you literally going, and I won, and you like kind of putting your friend down that you won against. And they do it to their family, to their loved ones. Like a husband will do this to their wife, or the wife to the husband. It's like, what? Where's the logic here? Your joy comes from making somebody else miserable. No, not me. This is not Nobelia-Living. Nope, 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 nope. Absolutely no. Right? This is just unthinkable. This is abhorrent. This is just madness, insanity. So Nobelia-Living is saying, well, did you like that? Well, you didn't like to be on the receiving end of that, and maybe you didn't like to be on the positive end either. Like to me, I stopped enjoying winning because I was aware that I'm making others into a loser and not feeling good about themselves because they didn't know how to compete without that being the primary. On Nobelia, they compete, yes. But what is the joy in the competition? The the joy comes from stretching yourself, from learning from the others around you, whether they are better at the particular activity or worse. Either way, you learn, right? I mean, if you observing somebody like I'm playing tennis and you new to tennis, you never played tennis, you're quite hopeless, right? And I've got some skill. Well, in order for me to play with you, at least with some game, I have to sort of share some stuff with you in a sense, right? And hopefully you're going to do this. So now it becomes a game of sharing. Yes, I'm still going to be doing my best, but I'm playing in a way which allows you to play to your best. Wow, this is a fantastic way, right? This is just magical. We don't care who wins or who loses. It's not an issue, right? And I don't feel bad if I'm the one at the other end. For me personally, right, when I'm playing things like tennis or squash or table tennis or whatever the game is, I like to play against the best possible because I learn. Right? Now, sometimes they're so far away from me that, okay, I don't want to waste your time. There's too big a gap. So I like to play people that are better than me, but not like in a whole different reality, right? Which sometimes you play with people that are, I can't play with you. You're just way too good for me, right? So this is it. You balance and you learn, you stretch yourself. This is Nobelia-Living, different paradigm, where this whole concept of winning is everything like it is in our modern day culture. No, winning is not everything. Actually, winning is very far down the list of things. Yes, enjoyment, that's number one, not winning. This is what you play for, to enjoy. This is my purpose. Not only is it about enjoying, but learning and growing. Well, I love to learn and grow. Oh, now the two go together, right? So this is the core of Nobelia-Living, right? It's joy. Joy comes first. Joy, everything is about joy. The learning and the growing is to get you to joy. Way of impeccability, its purpose is joy. That is its purpose. Yes. Now you take joy from being impeccable, from having integrity. This gives you joy, right? End of the day, everything's about joy, right? Capital J, joy. So this world is a very radical, different world, and this is what I'm going to be sharing on the podcasts. Nobelia-Living, Moreness, the world of the Moreness of Nobelia, the Moreness of Nobelia-Living. This is a very different paradigm, something to get very excited about. That hey, you know what? Here is a world that I can really get into. Yes, a world that I can celebrate. Oh,
So yes, it seemed like
oh,
we
one second, one second, one second. World that there we go. Missed 10 minutes as a visitor. No problem, Norma. No problem. No problem. Share on what I'm commenting about, right? That this world that we live in, you are aware of this world, Norma, that this culture that I'm talking about. You've seen, you've experienced the negative effects, consequences of this culture of comparison and winning and dominance, and which really is just we've taken bullying, right? Which is that literal like fighting for superiority. Like, you look at the lions. People all love the lions, but I don't want to live in lion culture. Sorry, it's a horrible culture, a terrible culture. Every time they make they fight for their food every time. What a culture to live in, and they're always in this constant battle for dominance and hierarchy with each other, putting each other down or pulling each other down. That's a horrible, horrible way to live. Sorry. Our modern civilization has just found more subtle ways of doing this. But no, where you're living for the admiration and approval of others, that's very hollow. You're never going to get true satisfaction because it's never real. And you're always dependent on others for your happiness. What an idiotic system, right? This is just nuts. No, independence of being. I want to be happy because I enjoy being me, not because others say I'm okay. It cannot work when you think it through. That's why you have so many of your movie stars, right, or TV stars, whatever. They suffer from alcoholism and drugs, right? And musicians, all of the people who are in the public eye where they're getting approval all the time, they get to realize it's actually very hollow. Yes. And so they get depressed because there's no realness to it. Yeah, you say I'm good, but I don't feel like anything. Yes, what I do, yes, but I, me, am who I am. My skills, that doesn't make me. You admire me for my skills and my abilities, but that doesn't make me, it doesn't make who I am. Yeah? Now, other people, again, feel bad about themselves because, well, they are nice people, some people that I know, and I won't mention names, but the finger of suspicion points to you. You know who I'm talking about. They don't particularly have skills and abilities, but they are good. But they don't know it and they don't realize it and they don't celebrate it. They don't enjoy it. So they feel bad about themselves. Yeah. But those who have skills, they likewise feel bad about themselves because they don't have the actual inherent moreness and goodness, or at least they have it, but they don't necessarily connect to it, right? So who we are, who we feel we are, is way more important than skills and abilities. Not that skills and abilities don't have their value, of course they do, but that doesn't make you who you are, right? When you are something that you can feel good about, feel proud about, now we're talking. This is what Way of Impeccability and the Moreness Project are geared towards. Yes, getting you to feel good about who you are according to you, not according to anybody else, but according to you, right? Providing you the tools that connect you to that. Very, very powerful stuff. Very, very powerful stuff. So I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here, Norma. I'm very glad you're here. Doesn't matter that you missed a little bit because I repeated it all anyway because Bina also missed it. So it's not a problem. Not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. All right. So, Norma, uh, have I made it a bit more clear what the podcasts are? Like I said, they're just essentially radio shows that are broadcast over the internet rather than via radio waves. Yeah. They might even have that. I don't know as part of their broadcasting. It's possible that they also do it that way, but as far as I know, not. They just use the internet now. Um, and the reason podcasts have become very popular is because of commuting. Yes. People are commuting and they get tired of listening to music and stuff. They want a bit more while they're sitting in their car, they're in traffic. Some people they commute in half an hour, hour a day, uh, 2 hours, 3 hours sometimes. It's amazing how much time people spend in their cars. So podcasts, brilliant. Listen while you drive. So podcasts very popular and easy to connect to on your phone too, right? You put on headsets, listening, you're working, you can listen to these podcasts. Because podcasts are um, right in the old days with radio, was a lot of entertainment, but the podcasts tend to be more nonfiction orientated, right? Not so much storytelling, right? And dramatizations of stuff. So podcasts typically tend to be around nonfiction stuff, discussions and stuff like this, right? And interviews, all of this kind of thing. It's very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. Podcasts, pretty cool indeed. Um, So I'm going to be doing a series of 10 of these, and these are professionally produced shows, right? And there's going to be an interviewer, and they interviewers have a lot of experience in this, and the interview I'm going to be doing with, um, they've done like Oscar red carpet interviews, right? So they have interviewed the whole range. In other words, not just nobody who just interviewing whoever comes along, right? They have some serious credentials as an interviewer, and that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Uh, where did I go now? How did I get here? Oh, sorry. Bina, anything to comment on this? All right. So before you comment, and then I'll get back to the making the ads, the commercials. That was my main theme on the topic here.
No, please continue. Please
Uh,
continue.
all right. So I started off with saying that, like we
Please
do our
continue.
thought of the day and the theme of the day, focus of the day is on making these ads. So what I've got to do is make a 30-second ad. Now I'm hoping that I can make multiple of them, because to condense everything into one 30-second ad, that's very hard to do. So I'm going to make multiple ones, and they'll be running these over the course of a year, right? So the 10 podcasts, and then they'll repeat the 10 card podcasts. I think they're going to show those 200 times, right? So in other words, they're going to repeat each podcast. Let's see, if there's going to be 10 of them, 20 times to give you 200, right? So each episode will be repeated 20 times, right? Which is quite considerable over the course of a year. Yeah. I mean, 200, I don't know, it's 200 divided by 12 or divided by 10. That's going to give you roughly 20 each month, a little less, right? Probably 16, 18 episodes being broadcast every month, right? That's a lot. It's a lot. And then along with these will be my ads, and also I'm being sponsored. I have some corporate sponsors. I don't know who they are yet, but doesn't matter. They're helping to pay for all of this, and pay for the billboards also. They get to run their adverts alongside what I'm doing, because what I have is something that's very desirable to them. I have something which this podcast network has said, oh, people are interested in listening to you. They're interested in what you have to share. You got a very high response from their test. Cool. So the advertisers are eager to associate themselves with what I have to do. So I hope it's products that I can sign off on. They're not unethical products, but I have to trust. I don't know. I have to trust. So uh, anyway, this is very cool. Now, how do I make an advert for this? This is the key question. And I was thinking about this thing about the schools, to use the school culture to say, to promote what I'm doing, because I'm not only promoting products like, for instance, come and take the program Way of Impeccability or the Moreness Project, right? Or my books. I'm promoting a world, a new conception, right? A new idea. Yes. So it's like J.K. Rowling before she had put her books out. If she'd gone on these shows and talked about Hogwarts, yeah, she'd be promoting this conception, this world of wizardry and learning to be a wizard. Yes. This and being in the school, the whole culture surrounding nobility, I mean wizardry. Well, I'm promoting this culture around actually being noble, and about really learning and growing, where this is your core passion. Because those are nobilia, it's not just that they want to be noble, but in order to be noble, they have to be at their maximum. You have to be aware, you have to be discerning, you have to have understanding, you have to know how to apply, you have to know how to communicate, right? You have to have integrity and impeccability. How can you possibly be in any way behaving in a noble way if you don't have the underlying foundations, right? So Nobelia-Living, the culture is about moreness, about the pursuit of moreness, and about the application of moreness, right? So I want to communicate this in an ad, and I was just thinking to use school culture as the contrast, yes, to Nobelia-Living. To say, man, can you imagine if your school had, instead of having comparison and hierarchy and rankings and who's the best, and making you feel bad if you're not the best, uh, you never got okay if you were like third or fourth or fifth. No, no. Then you were like nothing. You were either the best or, well, all right, maybe if you came in second or third, kind of, you were sort of all right. But everybody else, no, you're a loser, you're terrible, you're hopeless, and you got to feel bad. So in other words, the majority of everybody at school feels bad. Yes. And if you are the best, well, then you making everybody else feel bad, and pretty much people don't like you because you are the best. I mean, it's really nuts. It's a stupid system, right? So essentially, nobody's very happy at school. School very stressful, and likewise in corporate environments, they have the same ridiculous stress. At least some corporations today are starting to realize that this is not a good way. So they look for job fulfillment where you do what you enjoy doing and now you get fulfilled that way, right? So they are starting to change, but it's still a long way to go. But the school culture, very horrible, negative culture. Now, I hope there are schools where this wasn't so predominant, where the focus was on the joy of learning and being ignorant was acceptable. And acknowledging you were ignorant was completely okay. Not only okay, but seen as a positive and rewarded. Why? Because if you can't acknowledge that you're ignorant, you cannot possibly learn. I mean, look at the thing. You see it on TV where the kids say, "Oh, I knew that." No, you didn't. That's why you're saying it. The fact is, "Oh, I knew that." If you knew it, you wouldn't have to say, "I knew that." Right? You wouldn't have to say you knew it. And so you actually, by your very words, are actually saying the opposite. That's philosophy of opposite in action once again. I don't know. Why do we want to have this where acknowledging ignorance is the worst thing that's possibly you can do? Like those teenagers. How are you going to learn if you cannot acknowledge your ignorance? Yeah, terrible, 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 terrible situation. So if you have any ideas, anybody on what would me sharing my world, which is the world of Nobelia-Living, yes, um, this is what I'm about. It is my passion, this moreness, right? Because this is something that is really profound. It's life changing. It's world changing. It's self changing. Right? It's very consequential when we start to realize, wow, there is different ways of being and ways of living. Yeah, they are. They're profoundly different ways of being and ways of living to the normal should and supposed to and must. In other words, on our regular world. Yes. And all of these worlds, ambition is the dominant agenda. And you're supposed to satisfy what the criteria, the agenda of ambition in some way. Be the best, in other words, right? Be a victor, be a winner, be dominant. This is the agenda. But on Nobelia, it's not about ambition, but about aspiration. Very different. What you aspire to. When you say and you actually make a distinction and you say, people say, but isn't that the same thing? Oh, no, 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 no. Very big difference between ambitions and aspirations. Yes. My ambition is to be the best, typically, right? This is it. That's ambition is typically related to being the best, being the top, being dominant of some kind of a ranking system, right? But an aspiration, I aspire to be patient. I aspire to be kind. I aspire to be gentle. I aspire to be loving. Yes, I aspire to be aware. I aspire to be discerning. I aspire to be understanding. I aspire to be able to apply what I know. Not just know it as data, because that goes to my hard drive and it doesn't mean anything. No, I want to be able to use it and apply it. Yes. So I aspire to have competence, for instance. I aspire to be able to learn. I aspire to know how to think. Yes, to be able to have skills like being a life detective, skills of observation, skills of awareness, skills of being able to put things together, skills of implication, in other words, right? Skills of extrapolation. I can go on and on and on. My whole dictionary of power is full of these, yes? Things I aspire to. In other words, I aspire to learn and to grow. Yeah, that's a wonderful aspiration. And again, it has nothing to do with you. Yeah. And where you at and your aspirations have nothing to do with me. There's no comparison, no comparison whatsoever, right? There's no, oh, I'm at this level, you at that level. No, I'm just learning. And wherever I am, right? And again, like I say to many people, you say, like they say, man, you started young and you like so far ahead of me. I say, how do you know this is this life only? Maybe my learning, and I really do feel my learning comes from some other reality sometime before and it carried over. Yeah. So when we think of our learning and where we are at in the context of many, many lives, in the context of eternity, for instance, where's comparison make a difference? It's like saying, wow, I feel very wealthy. I've got $1,000. Well, when you're used to having no money, okay, $1,000 or 10,000, that's a lot of money. 100,000 is a lot. But compared to Bill Gates, he's like, yeah, seriously, or Jeff Bezos or whoever. Come on, man. A million is not even a lot. Yeah, a million is a little to a billionaire. See? When we're starting to compare knowledge and learning, and we compare it in this context of money, I say, all right, Jeff Bezos or Bill Gates, fine, you've got, I don't know, hundreds of billions, but that's nothing compared to trillions and gazillions and bajillions. See, there's always more. So when you start comparing, it means nothing. It's relatively nothing compared to infinity. Yes, everything is nothing compared to infinity. However, right, anything is something compared to nothing. Yeah. See, this is the logic. Yeah, don't compare yourself to infinity. Compare yourself to nothing. Are you something compared to nothing? Yes, you are. Yeah, does it matter if somebody else is more or less? No, it's irrelevant because that's where they are at. You don't know. I know people who have many skills and abilities, very competent people, but they're thoroughly miserable and unhappy, right? And also wealthy people, thoroughly miserable and unhappy. So what? See, don't compare. Who you are, you may have very few skills and abilities, but you're happy, you're good. That's all that matters, right? That's all that matters, right? All right. So you don't understand what's going on. You may be a bit like me. I struggle to understand lots of things. I have to put a lot of work into understanding. Yes, this is my understanding comes from thinking things through to the end. I'm very diligent when it comes to that, extremely so, right? Really make a big effort to think things through to the end and to perspective shift to multiple perspectives. And we say, oh, well, yeah, but you're intelligent. No, it's not about intelligence, it's about effort. Yes, I simply make the effort. You can too, right? And I feel I learn very slowly. Really, I feel I learn very slowly. You might say, wow, but you know a lot of stuff. Yeah, because I've been very diligent at learning. I've been very committed to it. But it doesn't make me better or worse. It's simply what I enjoy doing. Now, one of the absolute core conceptions in Nobelia-Living is the effort reward circle. Effort reward is a circle. What I mean by effort reward, in other words, you and you alone, the individual and the individual alone, is the only one who can decide how much effort is worth the reward. Like for me, I've used this example many times. All right, I'll use a different example. I look at, say, somebody who's a top movie star, right? I say, wow, that's fantastic. I say, yeah, but do I want this? How much effort is involved for me to get to be this? Yeah. Oh man, that's a lot of work to do that. Like, nah, sorry, that's not worth it to me. Now, nobody can tell me I'm wrong. I'm the only one who can decide if this is worth the effort. Yeah. Doesn't matter what it is. Maybe doing the dishes. I don't know. For instance, I don't know. Okay. I buy paper plates because I don't want to do the dishes. I don't do that, but I know people who do. It's not worth the effort to them. And they're quite happy with paper plates. So they buy it, they throw it away, right? Or they eat takeout all the time. So they don't have to do cooking and stuff. The effort of cooking is not worth it to them. They just eat out all the time or call for deliveries, right? It's very common. Effort reward. Nobody can tell you it's right or wrong, right? So what is worth the effort to you? You and you alone decide. This is intrinsic to Nobelia-Living. Because and actually the new Nobility Corporation, which in the story, in the book, in the whole thing, there's a moreness to it. They actually run these as public service ads to say effort reward and explain how it works like I am now, right? Very, very important. Because when we start to look at everything from effort reward point of view, there's no comparison anymore. Comparison becomes a complete non-issue. They say, well, I'm better than you. Oh, really? How do you figure? Well, I've got this, I can do this, I can do that. Yeah, but how much effort did you put into that? Well, yes, I put a lot of effort into it. I'm very proud of the effort. I said, well, so the reward was worth the effort to you, yes? Well, it's not to me. I don't think that reward of whatever skill and competency and ability you have to make a lot of effort. I don't feel it's worth the reward. I'm happy with less effort. And, oh, oh, well, what can they say to that? Well, they can say, well, that was worth it to me. Can you tell me it has to be worth it to you? No, you can't. You can't tell me I have to see it as the same effort is worth that reward. That's your thinking, that's your feeling, that's how you are. It's just who knows where our motivations come from, right? But you can't tell anybody else, oh, the reward has to be worth this much effort to you also. You can't. It's not possible. Right? So when we look at things through this lens of effort reward, suddenly we are all equal. There's a great desire of society, equality. Yeah, it's a circle, right? There's no comparison. That's why it's a circle or a globe, even. There's no comparison. You can't say, oh, it's better or worse. Right? What point on a circle is better than or worse than any other point on a circle or a globe? Yes, especially if it's a spinning globe. There's no top or no bottom to it. You don't say, well, I'm at the top of the globe or the circle. Well, it's a circle that's continually turning and moving and rotating. So that's it. Sorry. Today you might be there, but tomorrow you're at the bottom. So it's all equal, right? It's no better or no worse. And this is the excitement, the magic of Nobelia-Living. It's an entirely different paradigm where we all get to enjoy each other and we collaborate. So in other words, it doesn't matter how much you know or don't know. Yes. In other words, if I'm hanging out with you and I know a lot and you know little and we're sharing, I get great joy in it because I'm sharing and you interested in what I'm saying because you don't know. Right? So see, you give me value relatively. And again, likewise, when you sharing, right? And I know now it may not be in equivalence because all right, maybe I've made a lot of effort on the stuff and you haven't and you need to it. I get great joy in sharing to you. You get great joy in receiving. This is fantastic. Yes. Now, think of it in terms of this relationship, right? When you go to your doctor, you unhealthy, you're not well, you're sick, you got an injury, whatever, right? You go to your doctor because you are less than optimum. You are not healthy, right? So your doctor is healthy, well, at least we hope so, right? We assume so. But what is the doctor's joy? The doctor's joy is in getting you to be healthy. Yes? See? Doctor takes joy in the fact that you're not healthy. Well, the doctors, but hang on. I'm not happy that they're not well. Yeah, I realize that I was using it deliberately just to get some awareness here. But the fact of the matter is, you get joy in helping somebody to become healthy. When we are sharing, this is the same thing. I don't know if my sharing actually makes a difference to you, but I take joy in the fact that it might. Yes. And I know I've gotten much value from what others have shared. They didn't share it specifically to me. I mean, the author wrote the book and they wrote it for themselves. They couldn't care two hoots about you. But I got great joy in it. The fact that I'm able to read it is because they shared it. They didn't write it for me or two people like me. They just shared it and story for themselves. Sometimes some authors do this more deliberately. But nonetheless, the end result is I'm able to get value from it because it was shared. So when we're in a culture that is around sharing, not telling and teaching, which is a hierarchical concept, right? Because when you're a teacher and you're a student, well, I'm better than you. And there we go. It's top down. So there's great value in this. No. Nonsense. Sharing has no hierarchy to it. Sharing has no hierarchy to it. So this whole world, what I'm about, is sharing this world of Nobelia that there's no hierarchy to it. Yes, because that's what the superiority paradigm is all about hierarchy, right? And no comparisons. That's again, that's hierarchy, always about comparison. Where are you? How are you? Who's the best? Who's the second best? Who's the third? Who's the worst? Blah, blah, blah. All about hierarchy. Superiority paradigm. Terrible, terrible paradigm. No. Nobelia is a collaborative paradigm, it's a sharing paradigm. Yeah, very, very different. Very, very different. So everybody can be happy there. Doesn't matter if I go to personally, me personally, if I were to go and be on Nobelia, I would be an aspirant. I would be looking around at all these wonderful people, the way Ursula is, or the way Camillus is. Like, man, these people are just awesome. They're just fantastic. Isn't this where you would want to be? To me, I get the great thrill and joy when I'm with people who know more than me, who have more skills than me. When I was a child, whenever the electrician would come around, or the plumber, or the carpenter, or the mechanic, or whoever that was, I would ask them all about what they were doing. It was, I wanted to know, right? And I would hang out with them, and they're working in the fuse box there. What is this? Oh, this is a fuse. And because it was something that they knew and I didn't know, especially experts. Man, I love experts because you can learn from them, right? I mean, even if you're not interested in the thing itself, you can learn from their skills of competency and ability. And anyway, so when we start to enjoy moreness, right? We're not comparing. I don't feel less because somebody's better than me. No, I celebrate the fact that there are people who know more than me. Think of a world, how depressing it would be if you were the one who knew the most. Bina, wouldn't you be depressed to live in such a world? Where'd Bina go? Norma, Bina,
Yes.
let me check. I've been chatting
Yeah.
away,
Yes,
and
yes, yes.
I haven't been looking at the comments. But I mean, but think about it, literally, right? If you're the one who knew the most, it's like, man, really, seriously. Again, if you give the average person who's into hierarchy and dominance, right? They want to be the best. But how much do you really know? How competent are you really? Yeah. You're nothing compared to the sum total of what's out there. Yes. You see? So even if you get your fantasy fulfilled, you're living in a world where you now are the best that you can aspire to. That's very depressing. That's sad to me. But you see the foolishness of that system, in other words. It's a no possibility of win
Mhm.
system. It's a terrible system. Terrible system. Very foolish system. Yeah. What does Norma say? Norma says yes. And Norma says yes, radio programs. Yeah, this is the modern version, Norma, that you listen to them via the internet, right? So via your phone, via your computer, in other words, right? So, but the same essential thing as old time radio program. We grew up with radio, right? Or at least was very profound. Sorry, I have to go off now. We'll watch rest tomorrow. Good to hear you as you used to speak on the opens when I first joined. See, okay. There's no different really, Norma. I'm not sure why you think it's different. Very much the same. Very much the same. And it's just that, some of those opens weren't about a specific focus. Like when we're doing with a book, I'm saying the same stuff, just using the books as a focus for it, right? As a continuity. That's all. So not really different. Not really different. All right. Bina, anything to comment on what all I've been saying?
Okay, so this
Oh, I have to
this
share some.
conversation about what we are what we are having existing set up in the culture and the society and the system also are geared towards false uh, ideas based on false ideas instead of being competent, instead of having talent, instead of really improving our skills and do this impeccably. We have some false ideas and we build some criteria which are actually not showing sort of skills other than just a memory and also it instill um, the competitive mindset and all what you are, which is of course by implication constant stress, which is counterproductive.
Right.
But
Exactly.
we were not able to understand that. We were not able to understand the implication thing until recently. Okay, now I've seen many people are talking about and they are asking and they are questioning the school system is giving all that. But even when people are talking about, mostly, at least what I know, nobody actually has a solution or alternative for that.
Right. Exactly.
That this is the vacuum here,
Exactly. And
and this
Bina, Bina, Bina,
vacuum,
Bina,
this
Bina, Bina,
vacuum is
Bina.
is potential.
Wow, it's a lot of lay. I was going to say
Yes.
that alternative to our basic way of living, our culture, right? You said nobody really has an alternative to it, which is why we do. That's what Nobelia-Living is. It's an alternative, and put that in. It's an alternative culture. Put that in the file, in the draft, please.
Okay.
Sorry, I sorry to break your
Okay.
your flow and your rhythm, but I don't want to lose that point. And continue from this point that you're making about alternative culture. That's what I want to emphasize in my ads. Nobelia is about alternative culture, right? Alternative ways of being. Alternatives to what? Alternatives to what we accept. Look at school. We just accepted this that you in your little clique and you're always competing and comparing to everybody and who's the best, who's the smartest, who's the cleverest, who's the prettiest, who's the strongest, who's the fastest. All of this comparison, comparison, comparison. For the most part, you end up feeling terrible because you aren't that. And even if you are that, you still feel terrible because everybody's trying to pull you off your perch from the top there, right? Or they hate you for being the best. They despise you. Yeah, it's like, wow, man, this is a terrible system. Nobody's happy. So we're looking at an alternative where everybody can be happy. Yes, and it's quite possible when you're all collaborating and you're all celebrating each other. When I feel celebrated as a person, why? Because I'm a basic good person. That's it. This is what is being celebrated. This is what's being appreciated. How much exactly you know is irrelevant. I don't care how much you know or don't know. I care whether you're a good person and you're looking to learn and grow. That's it. How fast is irrelevant. As long as you don't want to stagnate and say, well, I know nothing and yeah, so what? I'm just going to sit on my laurels and just basically, you know, indulge in being this. No, no, no. I suppose you could do that if you really wanted to, and I'll still like you, but it's hard to accept when you're aware that you have stuff that's not right. Like, let's say you have an anger problem. So, well, I'm not going to bother to make an effort to fix my anger. Yeah. Well, it's now you're putting your negativity onto others and you're okay with this. I mean, you might as well just say that's kind of criminal mindset. Yes. It's a criminal culture. I'm going to thrive at the expense of you. So as long as you not have criminal culture, and like I say, when you don't want to fix your anger, then that's the same as being a criminal. Right? I'm getting value at your expense. No, no, that's not acceptable in Nobelia-Living culture. Right? Sorry, if you want to do that, go elsewhere. Yeah, hang out with other criminals and see how much fun that is. Right? I'm not going to indulge you in this. No. I'm not going to let you have fun at my expense. Yes, that's not collaboration. That's not cooperation. That's not sharing. That's hierarchy once again. Yes. So nope, 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 nope. No good. No good. No good. No good. You were saying, Bina, about this alternative. Please share more. Sorry, I did interrupt you, but I wanted to get. I didn't realize there was so much lag. That it was more disruptive than I meant to be. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So this thing that the vacuum is there, and whenever you have a vacuum in any kind of situation, what musical instruments are actually we create a vacuum so the air can fill, and of course it create music. And
Yeah.
and this applies to everything. Universe is actually and geared and designed to fill the vacuum. The vacuum was there and is there, and now we have something to fill in by an alternative of Nobelia, where you actually go from the scratch to the most abstract concept and actually reevaluate, reconsider, and relearn also. Do
Yeah.
everything and then change. It is change. This is how you can change the paradigm. So this alternative culture is here to fill the vacuum almost all of us are feeling now exist.
Exactly. 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 It's a very big deal. It's a very big deal. Yes. To fill this vacuum, add that to the notes as well, please, Bina. Yeah. 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 Miss you, Norma. Miss you, Norma. Miss you, Norma. I know you're going to hear this on when you come back. So we'll still continue chatting to you, even though you're not here. This is a very big deal. And again, it's an acceptance culture. It doesn't mean that we're just going to accept you to be indulgent. Like I said, well, I'm terrible and I'm hopeless and I'm crappy and I thrive off being a parasite essentially. Yes, which is what a criminal is. Criminal is a parasite. No, it's not. It's an acceptance culture, but it doesn't accept parasitism, parasites. Yes, no, sorry, no. So yes, it accepts goodness, but it doesn't accept, willing badness, conscious, deliberate. No. We can do bad things unintentionally, through unawareness. No problem. It's not an issue. Yes. Blunders, as somebody likes to call them. Yeah. So what? So what? We don't have the skills to always be alert, to always be paying attention, to always be concentrating. It's because we just don't have the energy, yes, to do this. But that doesn't mean that we are happy when it happens. But it also doesn't mean that we have to feel bad when it happens. And this is part of this culture. It is to break out of that mentality of opposites. It's either or. No, no. I make a blunder. I didn't mean to do it. I didn't have any intent to do it. I was doing my best and it still happened. Yeah, so what? I don't have to feel bad. Just because it's not what I want doesn't mean I have to feel bad. Yes, I don't feel good about it necessarily, but I don't feel bad about it either. It is what it is. Move on. Just happens. It's part of life, right? There you go. It's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. Yes, right, Bina?
Yes.
Yes, love you,
Yes.
Bina.
Absolutely.
Love you, Bina. Love you, Bina. So, this is important. This is important. It's a very different paradigm. And of course, when you are hanging out with people in this paradigm, who they are here because their intent is the intent to goodness and the intent to moreness, very specifically. Yes, in our typical world, the average person has an intent to goodness, right? The overwhelming majority of people are good. If this wasn't so, our world would implode and would collapse, right? And we'd be at the mercy of all those who have negative intents. They're criminals, in other words, yeah? And all variation of criminals. So it has to be that the majority of people are basically good. They have this intent to goodness and they try to live to that. But that doesn't mean they have an intent to moreness. They're content to do with whatever their goodness is, and they content to live simply. Now, they might have an intent to moreness if they were aware of what moreness is and moreness comprises, right? And this is Nobelia, right? But some people will know what Nobelia is all about. Say, yeah, man, all that learning and effort and figuring stuff out and growing, it's too much for me. I'm quite content where I'm at. Thank you very much. You go and do that, right? They don't have, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly fine, right? It's not everybody's cup of tea to always want to be learning and growing. So Nobelia is for those to whom this is a passion. But that doesn't mean that the Nobelia-Living is exclusively for this. No, because Nobelia-Living as a greater culture is also this culture of non-competition, right? Of aspiration versus ambition, right? So somebody who's saying, well, I'm a simple person. I don't have to know everything. I don't have to learn. I don't have to acquire more skills. I'm content with who I am, right? But that doesn't mean that they are content with negativity. Yes, they're just content in their own bubble, right? So they still have this Nobelia-Living, just in a different way, because they're accepting themselves, right? It's not comparison hierarchy. I'm saying I'm fine. I'm happy where I'm at. That's Nobelia-Living, acceptance, right? Effort reward, they found a nice balance point, but their balance point of effort reward is not at the expense of somebody else, right? That's very important, or of others. It's very, very, very important that this is not part of the paradigm. Yeah. And this is what I want to communicate in
Yes.
my commercials, in my ads, because I have to make these ads. But I'm kind of keen for feedback on this. You know, is what I'm saying appealing? Does it create excitement? Does it create interest? And that's the key thing. It does for me to say, wow, here's somebody who's what he's about. And this whole world that he's about is an alternative that is not this alternative, this stress, constant stress. That's the world that most people live in, a world of constant stress. Yes. You're so afraid of making a mistake. You're so afraid of being wrong, right? You're so afraid of losing. It's like the worst, biggest fear. And look how that fear and that stress, I mean, stress and fear, right? This stress comes from fear. Yes. It's a fear-based world. When we were at school, we were always afraid of these things, right? This is what caused the stress. Afraid of looking bad, afraid of being made a fool of, afraid of people laughing at you. Man, what a horrible thing. Nobelia-Living? Nope, there's none of that, right? I mean, if you do something that's you make a mistake or a fool, it's like, okay, so you do it. It happens for everybody. So what? And we'll help you fix it, help you clean it up. help you remedy it, help you learn how not to do it if that's what you want to. No problem, right? It's a complete collaborative. You're a community, right? And when we look at science fiction, for instance, right, you see these cultures that are, they call them hive cultures, for instance, right? Where everybody's connected, right? Or they telepathically connected. In other words, you part of a larger organism. So what you do on behalf of everybody else, and everybody feels what you do at the same time. I imagine a world where this is so, but not maybe that directly. We still have individuality. Nobelia-Living is that way, right? How can I say, oh, you made a blunder? Let's say you dropped and broke something. How can I feel bad about that? Because if we're going to be linked together, yes, you dropping the thing, you can't feel bad either, because you're going to make me feel bad if we telepathically linked, yes, or emotionally linked. You see how this is working in a truly collaborative culture where you are thinking of yourself as part of a greater organism. I do what I do, and that's it. It happened, and okay, I'll move on. If I all bad and feel guilty, I'm making everybody feel guilty. No, can't have that, right? Because again, are you ever going to deliberately do something that you need to feel guilty about? Not if you live impeccably, no. And again, impeccability isn't this impossible standard. It is simply understanding what your intents and motivations are and being clear about them. Right? When you clear that you have an intent to goodness, it doesn't matter if you screw up and mess up and do things. You don't have to feel guilty. You weren't intending to do this. It happened. It's accidental. Yeah, so what? It's part of learning. If we don't learn, if we don't have these things, and again, if we don't have these mistakes, we never learn. But if you're into learning and whatever you do, it's not a mistake. It's not a failure. It's just simply learning. It's just alternative learning. Oh, I learned this way. I learned that way, right? If I'm playing sports and I playing tennis and I make a bad shot, I hit it out of bounds or whatever. Yeah. I learn. Well, when I do it this way, it goes there. It's not a mistake. It's just that's what you learn. Well, I'm trying not to do that. I'm trying to do this. But you need to know what it is that you don't want to do and what you do want to do. So you have to experience the not in order to know the is. Yes. So, but when you start take away this negative emotional association of wrong and bad and mistake and failure, your whole world changes. There is no such thing in Nobelia. It's all learning. Simple as that. Right? So you don't feel bad when you don't do it right. You can do it wrong there over and over and over again. It doesn't matter. There is no wrong. You're just learning. Well, I haven't gotten it yet. I haven't learned how to do it yet. That's all. It's just not yet. Right? So there's no such thing as wrong or failure. There's just not yet. That's it. It's just not yet. Yes. Very different paradigm. Very different paradigm. Can you imagine though, if you were at school and your learning was in this way, right? You never felt bad about not knowing. And you could now ask. You could ask what you didn't know. I don't understand. I'm not getting this. Everybody else is getting it. I'm not getting it. Right? You don't necessarily want to compare, but you don't feel bad about saying, I don't get it. This is celebrated. Your teacher will say, wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for saying you don't know this. Wonderful. At least when you're young, they will really reinforce this, right? So you always get rewarded for saying, I don't know. Where did we grow up in this? Where did we grow up in this culture? You were rewarded for saying, I know how clever I am. Yet who's first to answer the question? You weren't rewarded for not knowing. On Nobelia, you're rewarded for not knowing. In Nobelia-Living, this is the culture. Yeah. We always not knowing. Who knows what the whole universe knows? No one. They're not even close to it, right? So that's constantly what you're sharing. You're sharing about what you've learned, what you've acquired. But really, when you think about it, you are sharing about what you don't know, because you're just putting a little piece of the bigger puzzle. So here's my contribution. Yeah, I don't know, but here's my little bit that I've sort of figured out. Now, maybe it'll turn out later that it means nothing, but so far, yeah, this is my contribution of my not knowing. Yeah, very different, very different. So sharing, we share those accomplishments, those joys of the little bits of knowing that we have. But also, I'm sharing the joy of learning from somebody who has figured it out. I say, thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't have to go through this maze myself now. You've gone through it, right? You already shown the way. which means that I can go through it quickly. I still have to learn the path through the maze, but I don't have to go and do all the dead ends. Yes. So when others have done that work for us, we appreciate it. We appreciate. So it's not only a culture of acceptance, but a culture of appreciation. Yes, constant appreciation. I appreciate you not knowing why, because your asking adds to me. You sharing your ignorance adds to me if I am the one who does know a little bit about it. Yeah. So we celebrate those that don't know. Why? Because they add to us. Yeah. Somebody says, I don't know. This is an opportunity to explain, to share, right? To communicate. And I might not know 100%, but in this, okay, so it's, well, I sort of know, but I don't really know. And the two of us, like say Bean and I, we said, well, all right, let's take this making the ad. Right? It's a very good opportunity, this commercial. We don't really know what will be ideal, what would be good to do, what's good to go. So we give our ideas and we put them together and we collaborate. Yes. And through the combination of our little bits of what we know and the lots of what we don't know, we start to figure things out. And that collaboration, our little bits of one and another one, doesn't lead to two, which is still a little bit. It leads to more, which is a lot. Right. So when we learn to collaborate, 1 + 1 = more. Fantastic system. It's fantastic system. Fantastic system, right? We stimulate, we motivate, right? And we get our brains to retrain our brains, and through immersion, we learn more. These are all skills that come from this, right? But mainly, it's about unhooking from this typical thing where we're competing and we don't want to say, I don't know. So we never get to collaborate, we never get to put those together, right? All those little bits are just existing individually, separately, right? And they compete. Okay, this idea seems better, so the one that's not so good, it falls away. It gets taken out of the picture. So in the end, the actual material you have to work with is just one little bit, as opposed to when you're collaborating, you take this bit and you add them together. And in that mixture of adding together, they expand like crazy. It's like when you put magical chemistry stuff together and it, expands and bubbles out and overflows the beaker or whatever, right? That happens. This is it. But it happens with ideas as well, happens with emotions as well, right? Happens with intents. When you mix things, you get more sometimes, right? Yeah. 1 + 1 = more, or 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = lots of more. It's fantastic system, fantastic system. Very alternative. Right? And that's the whole point. It's an alternative paradigm. It's very important to understand this term paradigm, right? A pervasive system, in other words, a paradigm. Yes. Benabulosity, where are you? What do you say?
Listening.
Oh, I actually think I want to end there today. I know we've got lots of time left, but the internet is very poor today. Like I'm not hearing you 100%. And I don't know if you hear me, a little bit of breakup. I can still
Yes,
know
it's a
what you're
delay.
saying.
Yes, it's a delay.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think just in this sense that
Yes.
we'll just leave it. And, for me, I'm taking today as practicing the podcast, because Norma asked, what is the podcast? Well, what I said today
Exactly.
is essentially a podcast episode. All right, I had it a bit focused on the ad, but really I was sharing about
Exactly.
my world
Exactly.
and this world that I'm bringing, that I'm sharing, that
Yes.
I've created, and I wish to share. Right, I've created a world and I wish to share it. This is what I'm about. The books are simply a mechanism for doing so. The courses and programs, a mechanism for sharing this new transformative, excellent, awesome world of joy, and the stress world where stress is not an issue. Fear is not an issue. Yes. Very different world. Very different world. Yeah. The world of acceptance and
Yes.
appreciation,
Yes.
collaboration. Fantastic world. Fantastic world, right? It's a moreness world, in other words. Yeah. An alternative. An alternative. Something that we can do. We can do. Right? We can live in this world. Nobelia-Living can be applied here. Like you and I have this every day. Yes. Norma comes and joins in it. All the other participants who are
Yes.
aware of this, right? And anybody who simply joins into this, when we start off and we don't have comparison and competing and ambition and betterness and when that's not part of your language, somebody who joins here, they automatically fit into the system and they realize, oh my goodness, like Ursula, well, if I had to go around saying how good I am and I'm the top and the best, which she would do on her own world, I'd look like an idiot here, right? See, so it automatically excludes that. So even though somebody doesn't specifically know what we're doing, if they were to come and join and chat here on Zoom, right, in this, like now, in our Zoom sessions here, they would automatically go towards that, unless they're a bit dense and obtuse and they're a narcissist in their own bubble and, oh, look how fantastic I am, blah, blah, blah. They're not going to realize they're going to make this great big fool of themselves, right? And look really childish and immature, right? They're not going to realize that. Now, okay, on Nobelia, we don't care, but we'll kind of feel sorry for you a little bit that you're in this bubble, that you so unrelated, that you have this false agenda and that you're putting yourself into this hollowness, right? So we'll just have sympathy for you and empathy and compassion, I guess. Compassion would be the right word, yeah? Because you'll realize that you're going nowhere, right? It's hollow. It's a bubble, yeah? It's false. Anyway, but still, I'm just saying, though, that the point I'm making is that when we start to behave according to these criteria, non-comparison, non-hierarchy, sharing, and acceptance and appreciation, right? And we don't, there's no hierarchy, there's no negative if you don't know. Not knowing is celebrated. Because this is great when we acknowledge that we don't know. This is we opening up the doors for everybody to share what little they do know. And now we all benefit from this. When you say you don't know, you open up a motivation which now says, oh, I can share about what I know because you don't know. I'm not trying to teach you or tell you, I'm just sharing, right? Again, I all benefit from this sharing of not knowing. Very different paradigm. And when people see that, you know what, you can come on my show and not know anything and you'll be celebrated. You don't have to be on the show because typically people are invited to shows because they know something. No, yeah, on this year, not knowing, asking questions, this is massively celebrated. Yes. And when you ask questions, aren't you saying, I don't know? So see, celebrate that you don't know. Celebrate that you don't know. Ask questions, right? Listen. So I don't even want to ask questions because I don't even know what questions to ask. I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to observe. Fantastic. 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 Awesome. Because if there's somebody who's listening and observing, right, and I'm sharing, wow, that gives purpose and meaning and significance to my sharing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yes. Anybody in the world, if you're a professional athlete, a performer, professional performer of some kind, yes, you basically stop. You lose a lot of meaning and significance and purpose if there are no fans. So we need to understand that in Nobelia Living, being a fan is an occupation. It's not something you do as a hobby. It's an occupation, or it can be. Yes. To be you can be especially in the agglomeration and on that whole there, you can part of one of the jobs that are available is to be a professional appreciator, i.e. a fan. Yeah, that's it. A fan, a reader, a listener, yeah, a viewer, all of these, right? And we do this, we don't even realize this. Yes. I mean, that's what advertising is all about, right? You pay with your products and you get paid with the return, which is the entertainment, right? But to be a professional fan means you give those that are doing the things on the other end, you give them purpose, you give them meaning, you give them significance. If it wasn't for you, they wouldn't have it, right? So we need to have this balance of both ways to understand that, fine, yes, I love professional sports and or professional performers, but they also I also understand that I can take joy in being a fan, that I'm providing value as much as they are. Yes. Without the fans, they're nothing. So but we don't have this as a celebration in our culture. Nobelia Living, this is everybody contributes. Everybody contributes. Yes. If you're a consumer, you're contributing. Yes. Somebody's making the product. If you didn't consume it, they wouldn't have the purpose and the meaning and the significance of actually making the whatever it is that you think. Now, whoever made my mouse over here, whoever made my headset, I'm consuming it. I'm providing purpose, meaning, significance. Yeah, doesn't matter. It's something trivial. Yeah, I mean, you may have the job of just making the covers for the headset here, right? See, like these. There's a standalone replacement cover. That's all you may be doing. You may not even make the whole thing. You may just make the material for it. You may just be extracting the raw material from the earth that comes from it, growing the plant or whatever. See, we all contribute. We all contribute. When you look at those old time clocks and watches, yes, mechanical clocks, not digital or electronic, mechanical clocks, gears and levers in them. Find the smallest little one you can. I mean, actually do this, right? Find the smallest little one you can do. Smallest little tiny cog or lever, smallest little screw, whatever, and remove it, right? And see what happens to your clock or your watch. Stops working. Stops working, right? See? It's no big or small when it comes to things working. It's no big or small. Everything is part of the system. Everything is part of the system. Very, very cool stuff. Very, very cool stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Ah, wonderful, Norma. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, all the lives are that, Norma. You must understand a little bit. It's still when I'm sharing the story, this is just, stuff that I'm sharing that's important to me that I've written already instead of just talking about it. I mean, I could tell the story too instead of reading it. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but all of these, it's all the same. When you listen to the story, it's all the same theme, Norma. It's all about moreness. Everything I do is always about moreness. Yeah, yeah. No problem that you had to leave. No problem. Yeah. I know, Norma. I know. I wish so too. But one of the greatest skills of the new nobility is learning to let others be. You have to follow your own path, right? They don't say my path has to be your path. This is part of the culture. You're not into what I'm into. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Nobelia is a specific world for those who have a specific intent and an interest. But Nobelia is part of the agglomeration, and you might as well call the agglomeration the all, right? Like in spiritual terms, the all. Well, that's what it represents. So in the agglomeration, you've got a general culture in which you can specialize and do whatever you want. Like, for instance, Camillus, he comes from an academic world. Well, that's their thing on that world. Now, it's not always by world. Some are very general worlds like ours, when you've got people who are into academics and sports and it's all mixed up. But then you've got very specialized, like there are sports worlds, like the story that I read just about golf, right? It became golf world. And now the whole culture revolves around golf, right? Because they saw the moreness, golf with grace, and it's a path to learning and being more else, right? So all now, of course, there's the supporting industries for the golf industry. I mean, somebody's got to mow the lawns and all of this. All right, they use robots and that, but still, you've got stuff that's supporting that. But still, the culture revolves around a sport, yeah, golf, right? Well, actually, they don't even see it as a sport. To them, it's a spiritual activity. They don't call it a sport, right? It's about spiritualism. So on Golf World, golf is a spiritual activity, not a sport specifically. Yes, people go there for the sport part of it, but they soon realize, wow, there's a lot more to playing golf than I ever thought. Yeah, on Golf World, they are celebrating the spirituality of it and the practical spirituality. And golf as a tool, as a profound, awesome, magical tool for self improvement, self awareness. Wow, wow, wow. Never realized this. Never realized this. As application for being different. Wow, wow, wow. Blowing my mind. Yes. Yeah, more. There's always more. The world does not work the way we think it does. Yes. And specifically, what I am about is sharing a world that has all of this, what we never realized that our world can be about. This is what Nobelia-Living is all about. Yes, Pina? Love you, Norma. Love you, Norma. Love you, Norma. There's never any obligation of any kind. This is again Nobelia-Living. No expectations, no obligations. This is the basis of all friendships, all community, all relationships. No expectations, no obligations. At least as far as possible on obligations. Yes. Right. You know, and expectations as well, as far as possible. Fine. There's an expectation of goodness. Yes. But other than that, for all intents and purposes, in all practicality, there's no expectations. You don't have to be a specific thing. In terms of the positive, you have to not to be negative, yes. But in the context of positive, no problem. You be whatever you want to be. Yeah? Make sense?
Yes.
Any comments, Bina?
I thought that you were about to just wind it up and then topic, and
Yeah.
then you were discussing
I know. I get caught up in things,
maybe.
then they run with themselves, and then there's moreness to it. Yeah.
Okay, so now what we are just wrapping it up.
Yeah. Or just discussing. If you have more to discuss before we wrap it up, I mean, either way, we can go either way, however we feel.
No, it's okay for me
All
now.
right. All right. All right. Then we'll end it here. We'll
We
end it
can
here.
actually, yes.
All right. All right. Brilliant. 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 All right. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, Norma. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
And we'll see you tomorrow. We'll have more on this.
Thank you, Darling. Thank you, Norma.
Yeah.
Thank you. Great.
I just want to
Yes.
add real quick that going forward, we're at the end of the book, and we're just doing the capital R reading of the last part of the story, and we'll do that tomorrow and Friday. But next week and Sunday, I think either we'll start some new story or the focus is on the upcoming podcasts. Yeah. Up until the
Okay.
podcast is going to be
That
our
will
focus
be-
in
yes.
the lives. Yeah. Make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So maybe on Sunday we'll share the ad that I've made or busy making. That will be the theme for Sunday. Yeah. I'll do practice. I'll do all the lives from now on
Yes.
will be practice podcasts. So maybe we'll do half-hour lives.
No, that would be great.
Bina will be the interviewer because they're half-hour podcasts. And I'll practice. Actually, that's a very good idea, Bina.
Yes.
So we have lots to do. I like this half-hour format. We'll start doing that from Sunday. Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yes. I saw that it only it's a big time. Like 30 minutes more or less, and of course you can just take away some time for the introduction and of course the wrap it up.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a 20 to 25 actually.
Yeah. All right. All right. On that note, since we're breaking up a little bit too, internet is not so good today, and we'll continue tomorrow. All right. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Bye-bye. 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 All right. End meeting.
Okay. Bye for now.
Yeah. All right. End meeting for all.